Hey y'all, welcome to the Main J Show, and this is another episode of MaineChat. Thank you all for tuning in. Before I get started, some disclaimers. My puppy's in my room. He's snoring again. I don't know why every time I record he wants to snore and sleep, but it is what it is. Also, just remember, I am no longer on my original YouTube channel. That is for the church pages and the church videos and all the stuff that you're going to like me. Even though I was doing some podcasts, some topics, I'm no longer over there for this. What I'm doing right here behind the mic. So remember, this is now on the Main J podcast YouTube channel. So make sure that you're finding it, liking it, subscribing it, sharing it, so people know where to get this type of content from me. Church page, church stuff, podcast, podcast page. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's get into what's really going on right now. LaTocha Scott, and her residuals challenge that she recently just did. Now, before I get started, I want to let you all know, because I didn't cover this when it first came out. I wanted to, but just a lot of stuff was going on. I'm going to go back a little. I'm going to start from currently, go back, and then come back, and go back and come back, and then I'll come with my conclusion. As a good pastor would say, I'll close the message up. With that being said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I felt like it was heartfelt. It wasn't too little. It wasn't too much. It was just enough to get us talking and thinking and putting her back into the media circuit. And I feel like she covered all the bases for what we need to know, what we need to hear. She said, I'm going to talk to my sister. I gave up on love, my husband, escape. This is what's been going on. This is why you haven't really heard from me too much. Even though she did put out a song with Eric Benet, and she did come forward with that little piece. And I feel like she did another song fit in with another gospel artist that came out. So LaTocha has still been working, but if you don't follow her, like people like me who love the 90s R&B girls, especially the girl groups, Dawn from In Vogue and Coco from Escape and Tasha and, all those different type of people that I grew up listening to, you wouldn't know that. But it was perfect, and it was just enough to get us talking. Now that I've said that, I want to go back to when the reality show, the second one, first came out, and talk about where I am now and why I'm for Tasha and with Tasha and why I think that this was a great move. Okay, when the Escape SWV reality TV show came out, I sided with Tasha on the majority of things and then said, okay, Tasha, these things you need to take accountability for. The reason why I sided with Tasha, number one, is when you first watch that episode when Tamika Scott says, you took my money, or Mama, you knew they took my money, and da 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 da. If you look, LaTocha Scott looked so confused, like, what money is my sister talking about? What money did I take? And you looked at LaTocha, she was looking confused, like, what money are you talking about? What money are you talking about? Did nobody steal your money? Did nobody take your money? She looked confused as all heck. Go back and watch the episode. Then when you hear Tamika Scott speak, she says, well, I told my mother about it, which makes sense because in that scene, she said, Mama, you knew about it. Mama, you took my money. That you know they took my money. And what Tamika has said is, I told to my mom about it, and my mom pretty much said, leave it alone, leave them alone, and don't mention it because they must have needed it. Now, I've been there. I'm the youngest, like Tamika, teen youngest child. And not necessarily with my siblings, but family members and family situations in general. There have been times when I wanted to say something, wanted to speak up, wanted to just go ham on a relative or on a situation. And your aunt or your uncle or grandma or grandpa or great uncle or great auntie, some of those senior seasoned relatives say, or even some of your older cousins that are around, grandma, grandpa's age or your aunts and uncles' age says, little cousin, leave it alone. Nephew, niece, leave it alone. And you leave it alone even though it's eating up at you. And the reason why I sided with LaTocha is because if you never spoke to your sister Tamika about this should have never have made the reality show. Them cameras should have been cut off. Cut the cameras off. Mama, I know you told me to leave it alone, but this has been eating up at me. Now, to even out the playing field, I'll get my husband, Tasha can get her husband, you know, and we can talk about this as a family about what happened to my, you know, residual check from the company that Tiny's mom said that she filled out the application for all of them. But it was a year and a half ago. But then once Tamika brought it to the family and as a family, because this happened in private, we didn't know. The mother never came forward and said whether it was true or not that Tamika did have a conversation about the money or not. We just got Tamika's side, and then Tasha was trying to defend her husband, defend herself, and it was just too many layers. Then after that, if Tasha and Rocky would have gave Tamika their behind the kiss and da da da, and there was no resolve, then absolutely it could have spilled over into the TV show. But because this was private and you never spoke to your sister about it, and you could see she looked confused, I kind of felt some type of way to be like, I don't think that this should have made the reality show, especially when there was no conversation with the alleged parties involved. Um, so that's another reason why I sided with LaTocha. And the reason why I also sided with LaTocha, because when you listen to Tamika Scott, she had said the money was deposited, allegedly, I'm going to say. So I'm learning this. I'm still new to this. Allegedly, she said that the money was deposited into her brother-in-law's account. Now, let me tell you something. And it had signatures. If you live with somebody long enough, you learn the mayorisms, you learn their signatures, you learn when the mail comes, you learn when certain things come. Could it be possible that LaTocha did not only not know about Tamika's check, but she might not have known her own check? What happens if LaTocha comes out and says, you know, I never got a check neither? And that's another reason why I'm divorcing my husband, because now when I did my research, blah, 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 I found out that my check was also deposited. What happens if that's how it spends and she can show proof and evidence like Tamika showed receipts? But she said it was deposited into her husband's account. And the signature was signed his name and LaTocha's name. Now, here's the thing. I used to forge accounts, not as an adult, but as a kid. Children, if you're listening, everything wasn't digitized like it is now. So if I didn't want my parents seeing my progress report, and that'll give me another month and a half to at least get my grades up, I used to sign my parents' name and say that they saw it, just so I wouldn't get in trouble. I practiced my parents' signature. I practice it and practice it and practice it. In my day and time, you used to have to write out punishment. I would not say bad words. I would not be mean to the teacher. So you knew how to write. You knew how to practice. You knew how to do signatures. But we had to do a lot of writing. And back then, we learned cursive. So we had to learn how to copy and practice. And then same thing with report cards or field trips. If my parents said I couldn't go on a field trip and I really wanted to go, I would forge my parents' signature and go on a field trip. So could it be possible that the checks that were in LaTocha Scott's name, alleged name that she signed, maybe her husband put those checks in his account? Because at the end of the day, Tamika Scott did say it was Rocky's account. It wasn't a joint account with LaTocha and Rocky's name on it. It wasn't deposited into LaTocha's account. It was deposited in Rocky's account. And I noticed that even when Tamika was trying to come after LaTocha, she kept on saying, my brother-in-law. So I think she was trying to say, I love my sister. This is hurting me that this is coming out. This is hurting me that it had to go this way. But I felt like she was still giving some grace to say, even though my sister's signature was on there, she was kind of hinting that it possibly could have forged it, because she always said that her brother-in-law, you know, it's from what Tamika was saying, that her brother-in-law is kind of sneaky and snaky, and that it was in his account. So if you go back and watch that receipts thing, you can kind of hear Tamika's tone saying, while she's my sister, while they're married and they're one, I'm not going to put this all on my sister and say that maybe she had something to do with it or not. She's just going to say, I know that my sister's name was on the check, along with Rocky's name on the check, and it was deposited in Rocky's account. And she kind of gave some grace to kind of hint that it might have been more on Rocky than on my sister. So I'm going to give Tasha the benefit of the doubt in that aspect too, because she totally seemed lost in a lot of what Tamika was saying. Even in that meeting, when she said, your husband said this. Once again, LaTocha was not in on the conversation about the kickbacks from the things. It was Rocky. It wasn't a group text. When you read back, it wasn't a group text. And who knows what Rocky was saying or not saying around LaTocha, around the girls, and then his personal business. That's why when LaTocha was looking at those, it's like, wow, da 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 da. Was she saying wow and surprising? Was she saying wow and embarrassment? Because like, wow, I'm being recorded right now. This is on national TV. I always look like I'm the problem. And then do I side with my husband? Do I side with the girls? This is live. I'm in the moment. And then that might be why LaTocha might need to come forward and say, listen, it was reality TV. It was live. It was in the moment. I'm trying to be a good wife. It was on spot. I didn't want to say anything that would incriminate myself, incriminate my husband at the time, da da da, blah, 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 blah. So I was just in denial or whatever the case may be. So I really gave grace to LaTocha. And the only last reason why I gave grace to LaTocha, and then we're going to get back to the video, is because when you watch reality TV shows, it's not in real time. A lot of times the reality shows are recorded 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 months. And then they edit it, they get it ready. Then you notice before it airs, they're promoting it for 2, 3 weeks to get you ready and they show clips. How can they show clips of something that's if it wasn't pre-recorded already? You get what I'm saying? And then in between that time, if you try to reconcile, you're trying to make things right, contractually, a lot of times you're not able to speak, you're not able to say anything until the show comes on. And then we get involved and then we make it 10 times bigger than what it possibly could have been had we stayed out of it. So I sided with LaTocha in the grand scope of things and the things that I needed LaTocha to take accountability for. I definitely want to see that. Now, when it comes to a lot of what people are saying now, that did you pay her the money? Did LaTocha Scott pay Tamika Scott the money? That's none of our business if she paid the sister not the money. Let Tamika Scott come out and say, hey, you all, me and my sister worked it out. Just like she showed the receipts. And here's the receipts of my sister giving me some. Maybe Tamika might say, you know what, my sister was only able to give me 20,000 out of the 30, and this is good enough. Or maybe my sister's giving me 10 this year. She's gonna pay me 10,000 each year for the next 3 years. Or we can work it out. Maybe she paid 10. Maybe she was supposed to pay 10 next year, but she was only able to give me 18. So she still owes me 12. And then next year she was supposed to give me the 12, but she only was able to give me 8. So she still owes me 4, but she's been consistently paying and putting that. We don't know what. LaTocha does not owe us an apology. That's between her, her sister, her mom, Rocky, the husband, the family members. Like, stop saying we're not you, da da da. We don't know what's in somebody's heart. For all the Christians who are saying something, that's why God said God looks at the heart. We can't see, we see the song, we see an attempt, we see a try, but we don't know what's really in Tasha's heart. And we can't tell people how to apologize, when to apologize, just like we can't tell Tamika and Escape how to forgive and how to move. If they decide to take LaTocha back and put her in Escape and they're mending and they're working and blah, 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 then let them. Last but not least, and this is the one I'm going to make a reel out of. You all keep on saying that Escape gave LaTocha Scott a second chance. And she blew it and still tried to go solo. Let me tell you something. When Escape got back together in 2016, 2017, whenever the Great Escape Tour was, which I'm mad I missed because I always wanted to see all 4 of them perform. But whenever they got back, that was a second chance for all of them. I'm just going to say, yes, Candy and Tiny were making money off the reality shows and off their businesses and off their brands. But Tamika and LaTocha Scott were also working. Tamika was writing for Tyler Perry. She was in plays. She was doing, reference tracks and writing for people. Her biggest song, Yolanda Adams recorded, Tam LeMan recorded. LaTocha Scott was writing songs, putting out music, being a vocal coach. She was a vocal coach for Candy's group, the OMG Girls. Tasha stayed working. Tamika stayed working. They wasn't as big as Tiny and Candy, but to be like, oh, the girls were broken, they wasn't working, and no. They all were doing something. But the reason why I say Escape did not give LaTocha Scott a second chance, because when that reunion happened, it would not have been a reunion if all 4 of them weren't in it. Candy did not have no illustrious music career. Tiny did not have no illustrious music career. Neither did the sisters. And when you watch all interviews, if you follow all of them down through the years before Escape got back together, most every interview, Candy, when's Escape get back together? When's Escape get back together? Please excuse my dog. Weezy. Shut up. When's Escape getting back together? When's Escape getting back? You watch Tiny interviews. When's Escape getting back together? Tiny will always say you have to talk to Candy. That's between Candy and the girls. I'm down for it. I talk to the sisters. I talk to Candy. When you talk to the Escape sisters, they would say technically we are Escape. We own the group, but we're open to it. But if Candy would have came back and Tiny would have came back and would have been two separate girls, it wouldn't have worked as an Escape reunion. If LaTocha and Tamika would have found two other girls, it wouldn't have worked. If it would have been Tasha, Tiny, and Tamika, it wouldn't have worked. If it would have Candy, Tiny, and maybe Tasha, it wouldn't have worked. All four girls had to come together in order for the original reunion to work. So the Escape did not give LaTocha, like they were already performing, and then they said, okay, LaTocha can come in. They all were separate. And then they came together collectively to start this reunion. They did the reality show. People put out books and spices and EPs and all types of stuff. Now that we're used to them being back together in Escape 3 and this variation and them doing the separate stuff, it's like, okay, LaTocha, you kind of bit the hand that fed you. We're good without you being in the group now. But originally, when we talked about a second chance, there was no second chance. They all got a second chance to come together as Escape. And now Escape is doing greater things without Tasha, technically. But I went to see Escape with the SWV 702 total. And while they did a good job, something about Tasha and her performance and her extra runs and the extra that she gives, it just makes the complete package. I like the three. Tamika can sing, Tiny can sing, Candy. Every man wants a woman, but Tasha's extra runs and extraness gives the Escape the experience that we love and that we're used to. So all I want to do is say, Tasha, you don't owe us no apology. You owe your sister the apology. You don't owe us any explanation. If anything, when you're ready to start doing some interviews, start doing the tour, start doing, going on all these different places, I would love to see you go on, what's Candy's, let's speak on it. I would love to finally see you get on there and give your explanation. I would love to see you go on a funky show. I would love to see you go on a Kempire or anywhere that would take you. Come on the Man J show. I'm fairly new, but I'd love to interview you. But I just want to say, this is the step in the right direction. Maybe professionally, you might not ever sing with Escape again, but personally, get your sister back. She's the aunt to your son. You're the aunt to her children. You're the great aunt to her grandkids. Get your mom back. Don't let this reality stuff kick you out, because reality TV is fickle. I remember watching, y'all hate on Kelly Price. She's never gonna perform. She's never gonna do this. She's never gonna do that. And then she was singing for the Clark sisters, singing for Toni Braxton here and there. Then she's on American Soul. Then she's on Sunday's Best. She stayed working. And then as soon as y'all turned against Kelly Price, the next season y'all turned against Shantae Moore. Then y'all said all this about Shantae Moore, and then Shantae Moore is still singing. Kelly Price and Shantae Moore are good friends. They was on the First Wives Club. They did a song together. Ever since that reality show, Kelly Price, Shantae Moore, Shanice, and Deborah Cox all on one song, powerful voices and everything else. And we forget and we moved on and we done tear people down off of a show that's edited, that's scripted, that will have you believe in one thing when it's really another. And that's the only other reason why I sided with LaTocha Scott, because LaTocha Scott said herself there was stuff that was taken out. Candy said there was stuff that was edited that y'all didn't see. Tiny said there was stuff that was edited that you didn't see. Tamika said there was stuff that y'all didn't see. Coco, Lily, and Taj all said that we were disrespected and there was stuff that you didn't see. LaTocha said, I try to make things right with Candy. I even reached out to my sister, but they didn't show that. Oh, you're lying. So everybody else was telling the truth about stuff being missing and being edited. But then when LaTocha said stuff is being missing, being edited, it was like, oh, she's liar, lie Tasha, and all this other stuff. So this is the reason why I gave grace and mercy to LaTocha, and I'm still giving grace and mercy to LaTocha. And I want the best for you, LaTocha. I want the best for you, Tamika. I want the best for you, Tiny and Candy. And I hope that y'all can really get it right and get it together. Because look at En Vogue. Max is back for like the second or third time, fourth time. And we're praying for Don. We're praying for LaTocha to get back with Escape. We're praying for Don to get back with In Vogue. We're praying for Pam to get back with Toto. Okay? Brownstone, it's just Nikki Gilbert and the girls. 702 we get. TLC we get. Changing Faces, we want y'all back together. Cut Close, we're glad you're still doing stuff. 112, it's just Slim and the boys. It ain't no 112 because that Q Parker and that Duran ain't in it, and they was the singers. But we're yet praying for Escape. We want them back together, and we want new music as a whole. We want new music as a whole. So that's my spill on the song. Come out with a little bit more. Then Tamika, you come out with something, a residual, come back with Love and Embrace. And then maybe y'all come back together and y'all do like a Boy Is Mine type, going back and forth, same script type, going back and forth, like, or and then y'all hug it out and y'all love it out. And then that be the conclusion of this. So yes, I was long-winded and loquacious. I'm sorry, but I had to get all of that out since I didn't get it out last year when this came out. So I'm here for it. And it's a step in the right direction. And I'm praying for y'all. That is MaineChat for today. God bless you all. Peace.